Hi folks, this is the Kubernetes SIG cluster lifecycle meeting for the cluster API provider AWS of the 18th of October 2021. Please be aware we're abiding by the CNCF code of conduct, which broadly speaking is being excellent to each other. Yeah, we'll get started. Got one PSA in case anyone's not noticed, we did our version 1.0.0 release to which is the v1 beta 1 matching cluster API. Good work everyone. Thanks. We had a lot of fun doing the tests for cluster API. We found some bugs in controller runtime as well whilst we're at it, but yeah, give it a go if you haven't. You should be able to upgrade from v1 alpha 3 directly to v1 beta 1 as well as v1 alpha 4. And I think we're planning to do some releases for the other branches as well. Is that right, Sedef?
Yes, I didn't make the releases for v1 alpha 3 and v1 alpha 4 due to KubeCon. We just wanted to have v1 beta 1 release at the top. So I'm gonna do new releases for both v1 alpha 3 and v1 alpha 4 this week.
Thanks for that. Are there any, I noticed Richard had a backport in, are there any other backports we need to get in for the other branches?
Yes, internet facing needs to be backport the same way we did in v1 beta 1.
Richard?
Yeah, we probably just need to, because we had this is actually a discussion point, but we need to check the version of the release notes plugin on those branches just to make sure we don't run into the same issue that we did with the v1.0 release. If not, we need to fix it on there as well.
Thanks. What was the issue around that? And Sedef mentioned it to me last hour, but
yeah, so they've basically done an update to the release notes CLI, so that if you have a release note of none, it basically doesn't generate any entry for that PR. Essentially, it doesn't match it. So when we did the release, it missed a whole bunch of changes that people had made and put them in the release notes. So I've got some ideas how to fix that.
yeah, thanks. I think technically that was correct. I think I think some of that is around Kubernetes secure software supply chain, giving more better, more useful release notes to users. So cutting out a lot of the sort of I guess sausage making in a repo. I would encourage everyone, put a release note. So I've seen bunch of features go in and then people just put a release note of none, and I've gone in and rewrote them. Bug fixes, release note, bug fixes features should always have release notes. Bit stuff in the E2E, less concerned really, but yeah, please make sure you do them. Anything else on that? Okay, going on to the action items. Linux Foundation Mentor Program. I think we're going to find out if there were specific start dates. Was that with you, Richard? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I did check. They do have the concept of term times, and standard US term times defined, but you can run your own program and define your own period. But they normally say it should be 12 weeks long for whatever program you do. One thing I didn't know was how the stipends work. So there's an implication that if it's an official program, that stipends are paid to mentees on the program. So I wasn't sure how that would work, but as CapG have done one, it's probably best that we talk to, I guess it was Dims and who else? Can't remember the other guy's name. But yeah, we could talk to them. And if not, we can just potentially do mentorship individually as individuals and just list it maybe in Kappa homepage saying, if you want a mentorship, go to this link on Linux Foundation.
Thanks for that. I think Dims was on leave last week, so I didn't the week before, so I didn't ping him. So I will check with Dims. And I think Dims had some folk lined up as well from India anyway, which is who
Yeah, there's
have
2
been
people on there.
attending the recordings for they've been attending the workshops.
I assume so, because they are actually attached to the program officially, so I'm guessing that they have been.
Okay, I'll check with Dims. Next one on the V1 Alpha 4 support end date. I think I'm not found out what other providers doing. I wasn't at the CAPI meeting, which I assume was cancelled because of KubeCon anyway. So I'll follow up this week, essentially. Okay, going on to the agenda about the templates, Daniel.
Yeah, how do we maintain the templates directory? I saw that we had a PR with updated or external AWS Cloud Controller Manager and EBS CSI plugins, and that added, I think, a new manifest to the templates directory, and it looks like it was handwritten or maybe copy pasted from what we have in there already. So I'm just wondering, yeah, because I don't know how we maintain that.
Any comments? Richard?
Yeah, it's just all manual at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, I can see that there'd be a problem with keeping it up to date with version numbers, especially like if we're using like add-on version numbers for EKS that change over time. You probably want the most up-to-date version in there. So I guess, yeah, some tooling around that would be good. But I think there's a bigger question around templates and how we make templates more declarative across the whole of CAPI so that other tools can query them more easily. But yeah, manual, I'm afraid.
In this specific case for EBS and so forth, is it's I guess this template includes all of it's a complete template for an AWS cluster. Maybe we could publish something that is just, let's say, maybe a cluster resource set, but then the user would need to, yeah, I guess we would need to explain how to actually get that in and set up the labels and so forth. Okay, would it help to create an issue just like to track maybe what we do with templates? I can do that.
Yeah, I reckon so. And I think there's an upstream issue somewhere as well about how to handle templates more generally. I'll dig that out to see if I can find it as well. Put it in the notes.
Yeah, my comment on this is there is a bunch of customized generation stuff for the E2E tests that generate cluster templates. And we were referring to those in the docs, which is where this PR merge, because I specifically removed them because I don't think we should be pointing to E2E test directories from the docs necessarily. So I think there's one easiest thing might be to move some of that generation to the top level and have that customized template generation stuff generate both the published templates as well as the E2E stuff. Yeah, so I think we can follow up in that issue. And on CSI CPI in particular, I think it was probably worth mentioning there is an issue open in the CAPI repo itself around lifecycle management or CPI CSI because it's non-trivial. Like, for example, CAPV used to have it inside the provider, then they moved to CRS, but now like it was a struggle keeping it in CAPV because if the cloud provider changed too much, like a load of code would need to be changed in CAPV, and then have to maintain a matrix of compatibility with various Kubernetes and CSI versions, which became unmaintainable. But now it's been removed from cluster API vSphere completely. And for instance, we do have lifecycle management within Tanzu Community Edition using Carvel, which is like a bunch of like, I guess it's similar to Flux, I guess, in some ways, but it's not an upstream solution. So we need a cluster API solution rather than leaving it down to the individual distributions. Anything else on that? All right, next one, Daniel, also bring your own ELB.
Yeah. So I just want it's gotten some reviews. Thank you very much. It's a large PR. It was a draft PR for a long time. It's an actual PR now, broken down by commits. If you're you know if anybody wants to take a look or can take a look, I recommend going commit by commit. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up here because it's kind of a big change. I just wanted to make sure that there are no no objections. The very high level description of how this works is in the PR description. So yeah.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, I suggest anyone who's interested take a look. Have you reached out to the Red Hat folk by any chance, like Joel in particular?
I have not, but I can. I didn't know there was an interest.
They might have. I mean, they're certainly interested in the sort of double load balancer, but I don't know if this might be an escape hatch that they might be interested in as well. So definitely worth reaching out to them, I think.
Okay, I'll do that. You mentioned the double load balancer. I tried. So I asked Marcus, I think is his name. I asked him to file an issue, sort of describing the use case, and he did kind of. He mentioned that it's available on EKS, and that anyway. I guess Giant Swarm has a need for it, but it wasn't clear what the use case was. I don't know if that's something that somebody can fill in there, or maybe Marcus will update it.
I think there's I'll need to dig it out from the load balancer proposal, but it is in there around Red. So Red Hat brought this up initially as well. So if you do have internet facing load balancer, your communication from nodes to the ELB are going to egress outside of AWS, and that incurs a cost, outbound internet traffic cost. Whereas if you have two ELBs, one internal, one external, then you don't pay the cost of traffic for the internal load balancer. It's all sort of just normal chit chat between nodes and the API server. Don't add to your egress costs.
Okay, so okay, I guess I'll follow up on that issue. I thought that was the case as well, and then I found some documentation that seemed to suggest otherwise, that if there's like this special exception for ELBs. But anyway, it's like off topic now.
I think there's but I think we ultimately need the support in CAPI though for the multiple endpoints to actually make it usable.
Got it.
Yes, I need to look at what Marcus has done, because yeah, it might be all very well having a Kappa specific thing, but then if it introduces more complexity in there without solving like we're working around like limitations in CAPI, we should just fix it in CAPI rather than carrying that burden ourselves.
So one thing I forgot to write down, this is actually for this bring your own control plane ELB. I have this PR is on top of main, so which is so it's using v1 beta 1. I'm wondering if this, you know, if we would consider backporting this to v1 alpha 4. I understand. I think the normal rule is only backport bug fixes, but maybe v1 alpha 4 because it's been only, I think, a few months. Anyway, it just I wanted to ask about that. We don't need an answer, but just something to consider. I don't know if there are any.
Anyone got any comments? I think my question to everyone is, how many people are using v1 alpha 4? I mean, it's only 6 of us, but it's pretty short-lived in like v1 alpha 3. I expect loads of people to be using, but I don't know how many people are using v1 alpha 4 really.
We have a few people, but yeah, not many, just because they wanted the EKS support being graduated. But yeah, not a huge amount.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Actually, on that topic, I know we did backport a feature from v1 alpha 4 to v1 alpha 3. It was a new feature in EKS. I forget what it was, whether it was add-ons maybe. So we have done that, where it's a feature, not a bug fix.
Yeah, I mean, we're not strict about it. So yeah, it's up to you. If you feel strongly about backporting in v1 alpha 4, that's fine, or even v1 alpha 3 until we decide not to support it. So yeah. Any other comments? All right, next one, Suraj.
Sure. So yeah, the 1.0.0 is out. So the question is, can a feature gated PR, if it's merged, like will it be released in subsequent patch releases, or we'll have to wait for a minor? What's the process like?
Any comments? We're kind of in new territory here with v1 beta 1.
Okay.
I would say that Kappa itself has been slightly different to Cappy. Like, we have done minor releases with the same API version. So when we introduced EKS support was on v1 alpha 3, but we still did a new minor release. So there's nothing to stop us doing a minor release. We don't have to go to v1 just because we do a minor release. So we can still do a 1.1 with a new feature gate, for example. Richard?
Sorry, that was more a thumbs up to agree.
Yeah, maybe we should take semantic versioning more seriously. Now that we're on v1 beta 1, I don't know. How do people feel about that? Suraj, how do you feel about that, I guess?
Well, I don't know. I mean, feature should go in minor. So, and since it's a feature gated, it's a gated feature, so that too an experimental one. So I think it's fine if it goes in a minor, yeah.
And this feature gate is reliant on Cappy as well, right? We need the feature gate in the Cappy to be present. So
that's, I guess the meeting. That meeting is day after tomorrow, so I'll bring that up in that meeting as well. But this was now and only happens bi-weekly, so I wanted to get a consensus of the team here. So yeah, it feels positive. I feel positive about it. So let's see what the CAPI team thinks about it.
Yeah, I guess we'll follow their lead to some extent. If they decide to do it in a minor, we'll do it in a minor. If they take the decision to put into a patch release, then I guess we can follow that same. But I feel like it should be we should change our policy now that we're out of the re0 series. Now that we're on v1, we should, like, semantic versioning actually means something now. So we should do it.
And on I have more technical question in that regards. So for this one particular release, which is adding ignition support. So on CAPI in AWS cluster CRD, S3 bucket support was also added. But S3 bucket is not used anywhere else other than this ignition, other than in this ignition field. So the question is, since it's not being used anywhere else and the ignition field is going behind a feature gate, should S3 bucket support also go behind the same feature gate, or it should have a different one? So it's more of a technical design decision question. Or is it okay to put both the features behind the same feature gate, and then later on, if there is a demand for S3 bucket and somewhere else, then it can be graduated out, maybe?
Any ideas?
So,
I think it's probably okay behind the same one, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know if there's much demand to use the S3 outside of ignition. The only case, so we had to add the SSM parameter store when secrets manager wasn't supported in secret region, I think, the ITC, the intelligence community one. So I think that solved that one. So I don't know, there might be some weird AWS region where like only S3 is available, but don't know of those just yet. Outposts, I guess, might be, but we don't have any good feedback on what's happened on Outposts and how stuff works in there. So don't know if anyone knows of that. Anyone using that? Right. Yeah, same feature gate for now. We'll see what happens.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
The next one, I guess this is what we just talked about in the PSAs, on the release notes. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Richard?
No, just the new feature in GitHub where it automatically generates release notes is pretty good. It has an option that is quite nice, that it gives you a list of the new contributors since the last tag. So it says, yeah, this was the first contribution for Richard in PRX, which is quite nice, instead of saying thanks to all our contributors. So just really it's an alternative option if we decide to change.
Cool. Yeah, I think some people might be playing around with it in the Tansy Community Edition, so might have some experience with it in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
and Jason's using it in the Tinkerbell provider, I believe.
Cool. Yeah, let's see what happens. Right.
Okay.
Oh, and any other topics anyone wants last minute? Oh, haven't looked at chat. Thanks for that. I've just got one. So doing the code walkthroughs, they are on YouTube. I'll post the link at the bottom here for Cluster API in general. I need to upload the video from 2 weeks ago, and I think we'll probably resume next Tuesday with carrying on with that. It's mostly for folk in Europe and India. some of the people who want to join the mentee program as well. So going through each of the controllers in cluster API one by one. So I think we got as far as kubeadm bootstrap. And I'll need to check. So it's probably going to be quite a few videos in the end, I think. So yeah, I think that's it. All right. See you folks in 2 weeks.
See ya.
So,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.